All right. So yesterday, Bryce Miller in the San Diego Union Tribune wrote a piece preparing Padres fans, San Diego sports fans for the Holiday Bowl, talking about different events that were going to be happening at Petco Park. And Erik Greupner, CEO of the Padres, was quoted in this article. So I'm reading from Bryce Miller's piece here, and then I'll get into the Erik Greupner quotes. And I think it's interesting. Bryce says here some Padres fans have grown nervous after a record payroll that eclipsed $256 million in 2023, according to SpotTrack.com, reportedly is being reduced to somewhere around $200 million. The team traded superstar Juan Soto before he earned big money in arbitration and have not re signed coveted arms Blake Snell and Josh Hader. They're not expected to, by the way. Add in luxury tax penalties along with a late season loan that was taken out, and money questions swirl. Greupner said every event is part of equation, but the baseball side has a specific and sustainable plan. We're in a period of transition, Greupner says here. We always anticipated we'd be reaching this point in time around this year. We've significantly grown revenue. We were number 2 in attendance and became a revenue sharing payer for the first time in history. Now we're making determinations on the level of major league payroll we can support based on the revenue we're generating. And this is fair what he's saying. We're in a period of transition. And what is that transition? It is going from one of the biggest paying teams to finding the best spot for this franchise where they can still have a very competitive payroll, but it be sustainable. They don't have to be taking out $50 million loans and requesting $100 million loans every year, right? So that's what Gruber's talking about when he mentions period of transition and making determinations on the level of major league payroll we can support based on the revenue we're generating. So like even last year with all the money that came in, they still had to ask for a loan partly because of the big payroll. Didn't make the postseason. There was a lot of money that was going to come through there. Didn't have the TV deal. Like there were some things where the Padres had to ask for more money, and maybe they thought they were going to get a certain amount of money, but they didn't do it. And now they're kind of having to scale back a little bit just to be in a good spot long term because they can't think about this just on a 1 year thing. Oh, let's go all in for 1 year. Like businesses, it is a business. The Padres are a business. It's entertainment. We want them to go all in every year and spend the most money in baseball every season. But that's just not something that is, I don't want to use the sustainable word because that word got thrown around a lot this prior offseason, not this offseason, but the one before when the Padres are spending a bunch of money. Sustainability is not being questioned by other teams that like to spend a bunch of money, though, which is a little bit interesting. I don't want to use sustainability. Long-term success, long-term contention. So Greupner continues here and says, I understand fans might focus on the departure of Soto and free agents we might not sign this year. Snell, Hader. But we feel like we have a great core group of players. If fans fell asleep 3 years ago and woke up to see the caliber of players we had under long-term contracts, they would be pretty surprised. Now, this quote here, I understand how this quote will piss off some Padres fans. Oh, you just want us to be grateful for the stars that we have? Kind of like maybe some Padres fans take this quote of the Padres settling. Like, we already have superstars. We don't have to go spend more money now. It's okay. Fans will just come to the ballpark because we have some star players on the team. I understand some fans that might be a little bit irritated by that. And yeah, we're going to focus on the departure of Juan Soto because it's Juan Soto. That was the biggest trade that has happened this offseason. And yeah, we're going to focus on losing Josh Hader and losing Blake Snell. Blake Snell just won the Cy Young Award for the Padres. So yeah, I understand if fans want Blake Snell back because, I mean, he's one of the better pitchers in baseball. He's coming off of the best season in 2023 among any pitcher in Major League Baseball, starting pitching wise. Definitely in the National League, in terms of ERA and just dominance, even when guys were on base, just dominance. So, yeah, That's going to be a talking point. And, Greupner saying he understands that. This part, if fans fell asleep 3 years ago and woke up to see the caliber of players we had under long-term contracts, they would be pretty surprised. But Eric, we didn't fall asleep 3 years ago. There are a lot of things that have happened. So where it's like we're surprised in a different manner. We're surprised, but in a different manner. I think some fans aren't surprised as well, but I think some fans are surprised because if you would have told us a year ago or at the time that they acquired Juan Soto, yeah, they're going to trade Soto before his contract ends up. They're not even going to make a contract extension offer to Juan Soto. They're going to lock up Jake Cronenworth when he didn't need to be extended. Manny Machado, that's expected, the extension. They're going to give Darvish a 6-year contract extension. They're going to sign Xander Bogaerts when they already had shortstops to a $280 million contract. They're not going to make the postseason. Peter Seidler is going to pass away. The TV deal is going to go away. There are surprising things that have happened since then. So I understand what he's saying, like be grateful. At least I think that's what he's trying to get at here. Like be grateful for the stars that we have because it wasn't like this. The payroll being this high, being around $200 million, at least that's the number that's being thrown around this offseason. We're lucky to have that. That's, I think, part of where he's trying to get to here. But I think some Padres fans are going to look at that and be like, no. I mean, we're grateful for the stars that we have. Yeah, that's great. But my season tickets went up and the payroll's going down. My season tickets keep going up, but then the payroll goes down. My season tickets are going up for a team that didn't make the postseason last year and isn't going to have Josh Hader, Blake Snell, Juan Soto on it this next year. And I'm going to have to see all these Dodger fans coming to Petco Park with all their Shohei Ohtani jerseys on. So I understand fans being irritated with that and maybe being irritated with this quote here. But partly he is correct. Like, it is great to wake up, even when some things are negative about this franchise and the talk around it, to wake up and be like, well, it's pretty cool that Tatis is here long term and Manny Machado is on this team and Musgrove and Darvish are on this team and Xander Bogaerts is on this team. I know some fans aren't the biggest fans of Xander right now, but yeah, it's cool because that's not what was happening in 2017. That's not what was happening in 2016. I love Will, but that's not Fernando. That's not Manny, right? Like, yeah, I definitely can appreciate. I am grateful, for sure. I'm grateful for the players that we have. But I'm not someone that likes to sit and settle with what I have done, personally or anything like that. Like, I do something and then I look forward to the next thing. And that's just how I go. So I think some fans probably have that mindset as well. Like, okay, yeah, that's great that we have these players, but more. What did we just do this past season? Like, we need to fill these holes, and we haven't really done a ton to address that. Yuki Matsui, they signed, okay, made the trade, but you did trade Juan Soto in that deal. You need a center fielder because you traded your center fielder in that deal. So I understand fans obviously being irritated, and especially season ticket holders when they're seeing the prices go up, and you can argue that the team's quality is going down, and the team didn't even make the postseason this past year. Now, there's still a lot of time in the offseason, so we could be, changing our tune on that. But to trade Juan Soto, we weren't imagining that, the day that the Padres acquired Juan Soto. We were not thinking that. So I can see how the 3 years ago quote, if fans fell asleep 3 years ago and woke up now, they'd be pretty surprised. I could see how that irritates Padres fans for sure. He says here, even if it might seem lower than some fans expect at times moving ahead, it still is significantly higher than it historically has been. That kind of goes back to the point of just be okay. Just be okay with where the payroll's at. Don't be frustrated with Soto being traded or anything like that. No, be okay with it because it was not this great. The payroll was not like this for a long time in this franchise history. And Greupner is right about that. He is. But I understand fans not being too happy with that. Greupner says, we are okay. The local revenue generation in this market will allow us to be at the payroll level we'll be at this year because of the support of our fans. and we're planning to keep it sustainable for years to come. That goes back to the scaling it back thing and, coming up with a plan of, okay, how can this be consistent? How can the payroll level be consistent with the money that's coming in? How can it be consistent? Because what they did this past year, that wasn't going to be able to be consistent with Peter Seidler here or not. They were already planning on lowering the payroll with Peter Seidler here, you know? So yeah, and then he's talking about, or not Greupner, but Ken Kawachi. Sorry, I probably just botched that name, but he does ballpark operation stuff with the Padres. He's been there for decades. A lot of this was talking about the Holiday Bowl and the events that are coming up at Petco Park. Senior Vice President of ballpark operations for the Padres, Ken Kawachi. Sorry. I'm sorry. I know I probably just botched that name. But yeah, give me your thoughts on these quotes from Erik Greupner. I'd like to see Eric Kutsenda be talking, not Erik Greupner. I'm fine with Erik Greupner talking. He's the CEO, but I think fans want to hear from the dude that's the chairman, at least at this moment. He is the chairman of the Padres, not Erik Greupner. I think we want to hear from him, and Padre fans have not heard from him except from a statement that who knows if he actually wrote, if we're being honest. Who knows if he actually wrote it? I think fans, not just seeing a quote in a newspaper or an article, I think fans want to see Erik Kutsenda like at a press conference and answering questions visually and hearing what does he sound like? We don't know what he sounds like, literally. How many fan bases in baseball can say, yeah, we don't know what our owner sounds like? And some owners don't speak a whole lot, but Erik Kutsenda hasn't spoken. So I don't think it's a huge deal, right? Actions do speak louder than words, but I'd like to hear him speak. I don't think I'm the only one. Yeah, I'm not super irritated with these quotes, but I did get some of the vibe of, hey, just be thankful. Just be thankful that we're not the Pittsburgh Pirates or we're not the Colorado Rockies. And I am thankful that we're not them, but I want to be, striving for greatness here. And I understand what the plan to scale back. I get all of that. But I don't know. The fell asleep 3 years ago quote, I don't know if he needed to say that. Maybe he could have just said, I think I think a lot of fan bases would love to have the star power that we have on this team. Maybe say it that way. Because a lot of things have happened in the last, 3 years that we weren't expecting to happen. Not just these player acquisitions, which I think a lot of us are thankful for, but some of the other stuff too that has caused the Padres to not be super active. They've been active, obviously, but not be super active this offseason.